We're getting ready to live stream now. Oh, unsupported object request. Due to missing parameters. Let's try again.
Now, take your time, because we're doing way better than I was.
If it doesn't work, I'll try a different browser. Can anyone go ahead and pull up SGMP Facebook and see if we're live on there? Because right now it's acting glitchy. Thank you. Nope, looks like it's not working. So I'm going to try a different web browser.
This organization since 2008, but got my first CEO job in 2000. And yeah, so I've been working with Boys and Girls Club for 33 years.
What do you guys do?
We provide after school programming to kids between the ages of 6 and 18 and do everything from academic enrichment to personal enrichment, finance, and recreation and play.
All right, thank you. I might be going live twice then because it gave me an error on the other one. Well, welcome. We are live and we thought we were having a glitch here, but it looks like we are live. So welcome everybody to Society of Government Meeting Professionals Florida Capital Chapter. So happy that you're here. This meeting is being recorded. We are currently in Tallahassee, Florida. We have some people in person and we have others who are at a distance, and we're just glad that everyone is together here. So I am beyond honored to introduce to you Dr. Kevin Kidd, and he is coming to us from what town do you live in?
I live in Perry, Florida.
In Perry, Florida.
Yes.
Perry, Florida, and he has 3 decades of leadership experience, including as the CEO of the Boys and Girls Club of Tabula Rasa. How do you say that?
Tabula Rasa.
Tabula Rasa. I cannot say the word.
Yeah, I don't know what it is.
Tabula Rasa.
It's kind of like people putting an L in my name. They call it Kelly.
Tabula Rasa. And you know, in 3 decades of his career serving in the capacity that he has influenced countless amounts of young people, and he's now expanding his sphere and getting the next generation of leaders ready for success. Tonight's presentation is his first on his signature talk, which is Leadership Looks Like You, wherein he is going to guide participants in leveraging team strengths and individual talents to achieve collective goals. So let's please welcome Dr. Kevin L. Kidd to our meeting tonight. Yeah.
Applause. Applause, please. Applause, please. All right, well, welcome everybody. It is a pleasure to be with you here today. I would be remiss if I didn't congratulate your chapter on your awards at the conference that you just got back from in Omaha, right? So kudos to you, give yourselves a round.
Thank you.
All right. And you know, first off, I want to give honor to God. Oh, wait, I'm not in church, but all right. But with that said, today's topic is Leadership Looks Like You. As Gabrielle told you, I'm the CEO of the Boys and Girls Club of Tabula Rasa, and we'll get more into that in a little bit. But for right now, let's get into the agenda, because we got a good amount of time today, but I really love intimate conversations in rooms like this versus the big arenas and audiences, because it gives you a chance to interact. And my job is to pull out the knowledge that's in the room, get you to challenge your existing thoughts about leadership, and maybe, just maybe, get you to go home with a different viewpoint of what a leader is. So with that said, today we're going to do a little bit of introductions, and I have to put this disclaimer and warning out. I was introduced as Dr. Kevin Kidd. I was given an honorary doctorate in 2023 by some wonderful people in South Carolina that thought highly of my work. But the warning is that doctorate had nothing to do with spelling and proofreading. Okay, so as you go through this, please show me a little bit of grace because my expertise is in leadership and training. With that said, we're going to introduce ourselves. We're going to talk about leadership origin stories. We're going to talk about the Horrible Boss Hall of Fame. which I hope will be your favorite part of this, because that's the part I'm really excited to talk to y'all about. So if you don't like it, just pretend to, right? To make me happy. And then we're gonna define leadership, and then we're gonna identify your own leadership style, and I'm gonna leave you with a, how's that sound?
Sounds good.
All right. So with that said, I want to just do a little bit of introductions. I know we did some of this beforehand, but what I'd like to ask is tell me a little bit about yourself, who you are, why you're here, and then we'll just go around the room. And remember, I only got an hour and 15 minutes.
You got an hour and 3 minutes.
An hour and 3 minutes. So, all right, who wants to start? All right, go ahead.
Hi, I'm Lauren Molinex. I'm a healing musician here in town.
Speak up.
And I'm here to learn more, of course, about leadership.
Yay.
Okay, all right, good.
And Lauren is a graduate of our Leadership Academy for Professionals, and Dr. Kidd here is in the current class.
Yes.
Mhm.
Cool.
All right, who's going next? I look like
My name is Tammy Elliott, and I'm here, I guess, for sort of the same reasons. I wanted to learn a little bit more about being a leader, maybe just kind of get away from, standard definitions of what a leader is, and just explore that a little bit more.
I think we'll help with that today. All right.
Oh, we're going to meet.
Yes, we are.
Hi, I'm Knox.
Love your name.
Mhm.
Why did I come here? It was kind of one of those things I can't just do, but also, leadership's one of those things that have been ingrained in me. So
Okay.
learning a little bit more is always important.
Okay.
And Knox is an intern with our nonprofit organization, Life Worth Leading.
All right.
Hey, I'm Ronnie Ahmed. I'm a scuba instructor with Gabrielle, and I volunteer at Godby High School. So, working with children and stuff like that's super important to me. So I, was hoping to hear more about your experiences and stuff like that. And that's Wallace.
Hi, everybody. I'm Janet Roach. I'm the Meetings and Conventions Director for Visit Tallahassee.
Hello, my name is Ashton Ryder. I'm an intern with Life Worth Leading.
And at a distance, let's go to Latrell first.
Was trying to unmute myself. Hi, I'm Latrell Hardwick, Public Adjuster with Gold Star Adjusters, and I am here to sharpen my leadership skills. Thank you.
Excellent. Let's go to Stephen.
Hello, Stephen Hall. I'm the immediate past president of the chapter, and I'm always interested in learning more about leadership.
Awesome. Retha and George, so good to see you here. Longtime members, like my favorite people. How are you? Retha and George, unmute yourself.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, we got you.
Oh. All right. We're delighted to be online with you guys.
We're delighted to have you. Tell us where you're located right now.
We're located in outside of Augusta, Georgia, in a town called Hepzibah, Georgia, which is just a few minutes outside of Augusta, Georgia. Yes.
Awesome. Well, we're so happy you're here.
Thank you. It's good to be here.
It's good to have you. I'm Gabrielle, and I'm here for many reasons. One is that I like to challenge people, and I think that's a big part of leadership. And so I invited our speaker tonight because he wants to make a living doing speaking. Now, he already has one job,
Yes.
and it's an important one, but he wants to start doing this kind of work more. And I thought, what better opportunity for our chapter to have him here and for him to, let us be his guinea pigs for this very first presentation.
Experiment.
So yeah, so thank you. So let's begin then.
All right, so I really want to start with our leadership origin stories. I mean, for so many of us, many of you might not know what this scene is, but this is John Wayne, and there's a famous scene where a young man is telling him he doesn't know how to swim. So to teach him how to swim, he picks him up and throws him in the water. And the young man just starts trying to paddle and learns how to swim. And the analogy is, isn't that how most of us are thrown into our leadership positions? I would love to hear some of your stories about how you were thrown into a leadership position and you were able to manage it, and what was unique about that experience. Anybody want to volunteer? I won't make everybody go, but can I get a volunteer just to talk about one of those unique experiences where you were thrown into the deep end? Go ahead.
So I actually met Gabrielle through scuba diving.
Okay.
That was my biggest fear, was water. And so talk about throwing into the deep.
Literally,
Quite
literally.
And I had to overcome some really crazy obstacles, and I like knew about her leadership course, and I was like, yeah, I really want to get involved in that. So it kind of, actually scuba diving is kind of that catalyst, I feel like, for me as a leader.
Anybody else? Can I get one more? Talk about a leadership story where you were just thrown in and had to figure it out yourself. Anybody? Going once? Go ahead, Ron.
For me, it was having like immigrant parents.
Okay.
That come from a third world country that is weren't aware of customs and culture here. So I had to figure a lot of it out on my own. I'm thankful I had an older sister, so she kind of took the brunt of it, but.
So that's interesting. And we're gonna come back to that, because in your family, it's clear that your mother and your father, right, were in charge, but there were times where you had to step in as the leader.
Yeah.
Isn't that interesting? Okay, all right, I'll put a pin in that. We're gonna come back to my own story. And this is what really prompted me to do this. So with my professional career, I have always been thrown into the deep end, like from when I was just a part-time staff, go in the gym and run some programs with. What programs did I run? I don't know, just run some programs with. To, we're gonna make you a site director at a housing project in Gainesville, Florida, that has one of the most dangerous crime rates in the world. We don't have a building, you're gonna have to go door to door, get all your members, and you're gonna have to find a place to program it. Okay, can somebody give me some guys? No. All right, fast forward, work for the Florida Alliance of Boys and Girls Clubs. And they were like, we want you to teach everybody in the state how to start this prevention curriculum called Smart Moves, which I am very proud that they still run to this day, because that was in 1997. And I said, how do you want me to do that? Well, we don't know, just make it happen, right? I was like, okay. So fast forward to the Boys and Girls Club of Tabby Rasa, and this was really the best one. So I left Taylor County because I had been there for 8 years, had solved all the problems. The kids were all cute and cuddly. We didn't have any more people getting arrested and drinking, and everything was wonderful. So I said, where can I go for a challenge? And they said, well, we have these kids who are in juvenile detention who don't have anything to do between the hours of 3 and 6 p.m. Can you come in and do Boys and Girls Club programming with them? So it's basically making sure they have something to do and aren't just sitting there in their socks and sandals playing video games. So I'm like, cool. All I gotta do is come in and run great programs. Yay. First day on the job, they said, okay, we have a $90,000 budget, but we only have $30,000 in revenue because the Department of Juvenile Justice, who funds our residential programs, won't fund our Boys and Girls Club, and you gotta figure out how you're gonna fund that. Yes, that was my introduction to the thing. But it taught me a lot of lessons, and it really led to this curriculum and course that I'm putting forth before you today about leadership looks like you. Through all my time, I always found myself in rooms with people who didn't look like me, people who didn't come from my background. The only thing I had in common with a lot of folks is I went to the University of Florida, right? But a kid, single mother, small town. Anybody ever heard of East Mims, Florida?
Yeah.
Who heard of that? Yeah, like, yeah, because you're from Brevard County.
Right.
All right. But yes, so that's where I'm from. And then I just grew up, and now, even now, being from Perry, I have to rub shoulders with people from the national office in Atlanta and New York and Washington, D.C., and my peers in Miami and Palm Bay. And I've managed to gain and earn their respect, not because I emulated some other leadership model, but because I developed my own. and earn their respect. So with that said, how did leadership looks like you come to mind? Well, it was actually because of these wonderful young ladies right here. So my daughter played soccer for 4 years in high school. And the short version of how I got involved in that, she went to try out. The head coach had quit the week of tryouts and went to take another job. And the assistant coach, a young man by the name of Stuart Ely at 27 years old, was left out there with 37 teenage girls by himself. And my wife said, you need to go help him. So I started coaching with him. And when my daughter graduated, I thought I would be out, right? Your daughter graduates, you get out. Well, turns out that the year before this crew came along, the middle school had went 14-0, won the championship, and graduated 11 of their 15 players to the high school. And they couldn't find anybody to coach the team, and they were on the verge of getting rid of the program. So they called me and said, would you do it? So it took 3 years to build the program up and get it to where it is. But some of the issues that we faced is I had a bunch of girls who went from having these 11 superstars who were super focused, who knew what to do, who knew how to be leaders, to a bunch of role players, right? Who had never worked together, who didn't know how to be leaders, who didn't know how to come together. It was so bad, at the beginning of one season, I asked every player, what is your goal for this year? Nobody said, I want to get better. Nobody said, I want to improve. Nobody said, I want to win the championship except one girl. Now, my question to you is, if you're going to be on a competitive soccer team that gives out a trophy, shouldn't you at least try to win it, right? So my challenge to them was, how do we come together and make this happen? And it took a lot of work, but the issue was we had so many dynamic players and personalities. This young lady right here, Autumn, is one of the best players in the Big Ten. Has no clue how to lead her teammates, right? Just yells, screams, and she has a little bit of a temper, right? She doesn't mind me telling you this because she admits it. Let me see, where is she? This young lady right here is my goalie, Alyssa. Alyssa also had a very hot temper, and I will tell a story about that in just a second. All right, we had a bunch of people like Brooklyn who were shy, Rexy, up there in the corner who barely talked, and none of them was really that captain, and there wasn't really this rallying voice. And what would happen is sometimes we go into games, and our best player, who isn't in this photo, Jalen, our second best player, would say, oh, we're gonna lose. And the entire team's attitude would just drop. So over 3 years, we encouraged them, we taught them, we pushed them, and I challenged them, don't just get caught up in some stereotype of what a captain should be, what a leader should be, but understand what your role in this team is. Like Alyssa, you bring the fight to us. Whenever we need to get hyped up and get our juices flowing, well, you just start yelling and we get hyped up. Autumn, when we need a play, just make a play. You don't have to score. Jalen, the young lady I told about, it would be really nice if in one of our games you just said, you know what, we got this, ladies. And what happened was they had one of the best seasons and won the 2023 Middle School Conference Championship. Yes, thank you. I'm very proud of that. Reading everything. But it wasn't, the rallying point for them was we had a game, the team should have easily beat. They were going through the motions, right? And at some point during that game, they figured out that there was only one referee and he couldn't figure out what offsides was. And for those of you who don't know soccer, you can't be past the other team's last player. Well, if you equate that to basketball, they said, I'm gonna be like Kareem used to be back in the 70s, and I'm just gonna hang out by the goal and let them pass it to me and shoot. You can't do it. They figured out the ref couldn't call it, scored 2 quick goals, our girls lost. But the rallying point was understanding that when it comes to the goals that you set for yourself, you can't let anybody influence those goals, especially when you have the talent to overcome. The message was, it doesn't matter if the ref is cheating. It doesn't matter if the ref makes bad calls. We have enough talent to overcome all of this. And I'm happy to say that the biggest moment of this was in the championship game with 30 seconds left. Remember I told you about Alyssa who has a hot temper? Well, she makes what's supposed to be the game-winning save. The referee turns to me and says, 30 seconds, coach. The other player that shot the ball walked up to Alyssa and bumped her on her shoulder. Figure out what happened next. So my keeper starts charging after her with the ball in her hand and is like, I will do this, I will do that, and she steps out of the penalty box. So what does that mean when you step out that box? Free kick, yes. The referee gave her a yellow card, awarded the other team a free kick. So a yellow card means I have to take Alyssa out, right? And if you notice, Alyssa doesn't have on the goalie jersey in this picture. It's Jasmine, our backup goalie, right? We had to put our backup goalie who hadn't played all season in. And I'm happy to say that these girls all rallied around her. They hugged her, they embraced her. They told her we love her. They told her we got you. Autumn made everybody line up in a line across the goal line. They said when she kicks, we're gonna jump, and she jumps and they knock it down and Jasmine falls on the ball. The referee blows the whistle and they all go and dog pile on her. And it's one of the greatest scenes ever, right? But it speaks to the leadership of each and every one of them. Did I say somebody gave a rah-rah speech, right? Did I say somebody scored some magical goal? Did I say Jasmine made the greatest save in the history of soccer? No, everybody stepped up and played a small piece in the leadership role. So I hope with that, that will help me define our discussion for today, because now I want to challenge for you what you think of a leader. And for me, a lot of times when I think of leaders, I think bosses, right? Who's in charge? So I surveyed a bunch of my friends and my colleagues, and I came up what I call the Horrible Boss Hall of Fame. And I'd like to get your feedback on this. Does everybody know who this is, first and foremost? Scrooge. Scrooge, yes, Ebenezer Scrooge from A Christmas Carol. What do you think of when you think of him as a boss? Good boss, bad boss?
Bah humbug.
Bah humbug. Okay, all right. Give me some thoughts. Is there any redeeming qualities in him as a boss? No? No? Okay,
No.
all right. What stands out most about when he was a boss? Is there any one trait of him? Anybody online got something? Ebenezer Scrooge.
He was mean.
Turn the volume back up for real quick. Hold on, because I want to get your input on this.
Okay.
All right, try it again. Go ahead.
I was saying that the one thing that always stands out to me is that he's just mean.
Yes, just mean for no reason, stingy, right? But if there was one thing he learned, right, from an experience and committed to change. So I want to keep that in mind. All right, who knows who this is? All right, Franklin Hart from 9 to 5. Anybody see that movie?
We're showing our age here.
All right, please, somebody tell them about Franklin Hart and why he was such a bad boss.
So Franklin, so the movie 9 to 5 with Dolly Parton and from the 80s, right?
Yeah.
And so he was a bad boss and he was a woman chaser and he chased Dolly Parton around the desk and he was mean and he was, not very respectful and very demanding and expected everybody to wait on him hand in foot.
Yes. And did he have any redeeming qualities as a boss?
It would be hard.
It would be. You were gonna say something? Okay. All right. But you get where I'm going at with this, okay? So for me, this gentleman right here is my poster child for a bad boss because he was so bad, his employees kidnapped him, hog-tied him, and put him in a closet, right? And to make it worse, he was so bad that they were able to do his job with nobody knowing he was missing. Think about that. All right, okay. Now, this is one of my favorites, and I think everybody should have something to say about this gentleman. Anybody know who that is?
Mr. Burns.
All right, what are your thoughts about Mr. Burns? And online, if you want to say something, raise your hand and I'll get to you because I can see the screen here. Sneaky and conniving. Come on, give me some more. Now, one thing I will say about him, you know, he really drove the bottom line, right? He made sure they were profitable. He cut a lot of corners to do it, but he was able to do it. All right. How about this? All right, come on, ladies, help me out on this. Gentlemen, come on. We all know Brenda Priestley, right? Was she good or bad?
Well,
oh, go ahead. You have the floor. Go ahead.
Oh, I was gonna say, from what I remember from the movie, in the end, the young lady that worked up under her became a really good boss. So in a weird way, she was difficult to work under, but she still brought out some of the better qualities in the person that was the come behind her.
Okay, so that authoritarian boss type, right, who is strict, but there's a purpose behind her being strict. She's trying to drive you where you want to be. Okay, anything else on Miranda Priestley? All right, who knows who this guy is? This is my favorite. I wouldn't put him as the best, but young people, have y'all seen Office Space? Excellent, excellent, excellent. What'd you think about old Bill Lumberg in Office Space? Yes, yes. And do you remember why they brought him in? Okay, so they bring this guy in because they're merging the two companies. And they have to do a mass layoff. And his job is to figure out who's productive and who's not productive, and to trim the fat, as he said, and get rid of a bunch of people. And his way of weeding people out was rules, making people stay past their work hours, asking people to work on weekends, which none of us like, right? All right, so now here's what I want to do. I've shown you a bunch of bad bosses, but we got to have a comparison group, right? And ladies and gentlemen, y'all tell me if this isn't the poster child for the good boss, and hopefully not him. Her. What do y'all think? Oprah, is Oprah a good boss? Yeah, come on. It works if we all speak up. Come on, share some stuff with me that you like. What do you like about Oprah? Something you've seen that she's done.
And you get a new car, and you get a new car.
Yes, she gives all of her employees gifts. I love that. All right, come on. Oprah as a boss. I'll say you. Go ahead.
I say what I like about Oprah is, I mean, obviously she's not as in the current day, but what I think is that I'm gonna try to say she is always looking to improve.
Yeah.
And she's reading books, and she's so her front facing. I mean, obviously I never worked with her personally, but her front facing persona is always looking for improvement and stretching and growing. And I think that a good boss is navigating the changes in the world where a bad boss is stuck in the past.
Would you call Oprah nice? Would you think she's a nice boss?
I think she's pretty demanding.
Okay, all right, but does she come off as the nice boss?
Yeah, I mean, I think she has high expectations, but not rude or disrespectful.
Okay, all right. I just put that out there because I actually have a friend that I went to college with that helped Oprah start her schools over in Africa. And when Connie was telling me about her, she was like, "Oh, she's very demanding. I mean, she needs this, she needs that, she needs this, but you still feel like she cares about you, right? And all of that, never does she disrespect you, call you out your name, or anything like that. So Oprah's a good boss. Okay, let's move on. Y'all saw this one, Steve Jobs. Is Steve Jobs a good boss? My friends that I polled all said he is a good boss because of his innovation, his ability to bring products to market. Go ahead.
From what I've heard, I know somebody who had done basically her program, and she met him in person. It was very nice.
Yes. Now, was he demanding of his employees? Did he get run out of Apple? Right? But they brought him back, right?
Well, and I think the question to me is, a good boss hires good people to work under them. And I don't know, I think that, you know, a good, I mean, when I think of a CEO, I don't think boss.
Right.
A CEO to me is the person who hires and you know, the next level who's gonna manage the departments. A CEO shouldn't be interacting, I mean, shouldn't be managing lower level staff.
That's interesting.
I mean, I guess it depends
Do
on.
you feel like everybody has that same thought about what a CEO should be?
I think it depends on the size company you
Yeah.
work for.
Okay. Does it?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, I agree.
Because if you have a small company, then the CEO has to wear all these different hats. You know,
Right.
Okay.
you know, you're the CEO, the CFO, you know, you have to wear all these hats. But I think if you have a large company like Apple,
Right.
I think the CEO is the visionary in order to make it happen. And it doesn't happen. I mean, I think being respectful, but I don't know. I mean, that's my opinion. I think I wouldn't expect the CEO of Apple to know it all, but to be able to hire people who can help manage those departments.
Okay. Now, one thing we can say about him is he had the vision that guided the company, right, to their strongest profits and one of the most viable companies in the history of business, right? And that was his vision.
Right.
And they brought him back in to do that. So, all right, I'm gonna see who knows this gentleman. Anybody know who this is? All right, tell us about Captain Holt.
I didn't want to do that, but.
Let's see how I tricked you.
He was one of the reasons why I love that show.
Yeah, and as a boss, was he firm?
He was.
Was he fair?
He was, and he got down in the dirt if he had to.
And was it really clear that he cared about his employees? You're like, I don't know. In a weird way? In a weird sort of way. He always showed in the end that he cared. Anybody else want to comment about Captain Holt? I was shocked when this one came up on my poll. I was like, because I've seen the show, but I didn't really watch it like that. And the ones I saw, him being the boss didn't come off, but my friends were like, hey, you got to watch it.
Yeah.
All right, how about this one? Come on. All right, who knows who this is? All right. M was a good boss, wasn't she? She had a rogue employee who she always had to wrangle in, right? Had to lead in crisis, had to give her employees the freedom to operate outside the boundaries of what we normally do, right? Okay, so I got one more good boss, and this is really gonna test everybody.
Yes.
All right, for the young people, you may or may not have seen the Drew Barrymore version of Charlie's Angels, but their boss was this gentleman named Charlie, and they never met him. He only communicated with them through this telephone speakerphone, right? And in a lot of people's opinion, that made him a good boss because he just told them what they needed to do, gave them all the resources they needed, and then let them step back. I see you have something. Go ahead.
Oh, I know.
Okay, all right. Anybody got some thoughts on Charlie? All right.
I never thought of him as a boss, even though he was the boss.
He was the boss.
I mean, I felt like he was the one delivering the mission,
Right.
but I never felt like he was actually leading, but he was the one to hire everybody.
Now, was that because he wasn't physically present? Can you see a correlation to our world here in 2024 with our world of remote work to Charlie being a good boss?
Right. I think you're right, because he just gave the mission, but he wasn't interacting, or even halfway through the mission, he wasn't connecting.
Right. He came in at the beginning.
Right, and then
Right.
at the end.
Gave them the mission, and then at the end, they broke down whether the mission was successful or not. He gave them their praise and adulation. And for some people, that's what they want in a boss, right? Tell me what you need me to do, leave me alone, and then tell me I did a good job after I finish, right? Okay, so now, the next ones in my poll, it was a little ambiguous. So I'm gonna let you decide if these next people were good or bad bosses. Leslie Noah from Parks and Rec. She only had one employee, right? Was she a good boss? Everybody know Parks and Rec, right? I don't want to take that for granted. Okay, show on NBC. She was the director of Parks and Recreation. Her boss was Ron Swanson, right? But she was in charge of one employee and was really trying to push the department to the next level. And the reason why I show you her is because we're going to talk a little bit about leadership in the workplace. And even though her boss was Ron Swanson, wasn't she the leader of that department? Yes, yeah, thank you, thank you.
We were actually talking about this at work today about leading from the middle.
Go ahead, please, I want to hear.
So we were talking about, many times the middle manager or this, that senior manager, that we tend to find, we know what issues are, and we're pushing that up to the decision makers so they're aware, but also with the staff that's below us, we're managing it.
Yeah.
And so many times, and I think that's the perfect example of this position where, you are managing from the middle, and the fact that you have people maybe under you and people above you, and you're not necessarily the front facing person, but really and truly, you're making most of the decisions and guiding, you're the behind the scenes of almost everything.
I couldn't have said it any better. All right, let me ask you about this one then. Good or bad boss? Anybody a fan of The Sopranos? Okay, all right. Tony Soprano is a mob boss, worked his way up. Anybody online a fan of The Sopranos? No.
Yes. I
Okay,
used
come
to.
on. Is he a good or a bad boss? Somebody.
I liked him.
Okay, all right. But
as we know or have heard, he was a mob boss, and generally they do a lot of crime. And
yes. A lot of negative consequences for messing up on your job.
right.
Okay,
Lose
all
your
right.
life real easily.
Okay, we will say he was effective, right? But we wouldn't necessarily call him a good boss. Okay, all right. Olivia Pope.
Oh yeah.
Oh yes, go ahead. I'll let you start off the conversation. Why was she a
Oh
good
no, I definitely liked Olivia Pope. I thought that she was a very good boss. What's the word I want to use? Well, I like how you use effective. She gets
Even
the
though
job
she
done.
get kidnapped, you're still calling her a good boss, but I'll let you have that. But go ahead.
Well, I also felt that she gave her people latitude and to be able to handle a job the way that they best could do. She capitalized on their strengths.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Greater in crisis too, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Get under pressure. Get under pressure until she got kidnapped.
Until she got kidnapped. Any more about Olivia Pope? Okay, I'm curious about this next one. Because one of my friends says he's a great boss. Anybody agree with my friend that says he is a Michael Scott from The Office is a great spot? Eric, please tell me everybody has seen The Office at least.
Yeah.
Okay, all right. Tell me, is Michael Scott a great boss?
I think he's a funny boss.
Okay, all right. But you wouldn't say great.
I wouldn't say he was a great boss.
Okay, all right. Why not?
I just believe a lot of things didn't really go to according to plan.
Okay, all right, like the scholarship program, right? Okay, all right. Anybody else? Michael Scott?
No, I agree with that. I think that he just wasn't very effective.
Okay, and a lot of the people who put him as a good boss said they would just like to work for him because it's funny, right? And I was like, well, okay, but all those fires in the office and all that other stuff, I don't know if I can deal with it.
Too much drama.
Too much drama. All right, I'm hoping this last one gets the response I'm looking for. All right, y'all ready? Good boss or bad boss? Oh, see, get your fingers. Logan Roy from Succession. And please, I took a gamble on a lot of these. Oh, sorry. Wondering if people were fans of the show. Nobody has seen Succession.
I don't know anything about
I never even heard of it.
all these differences.
Anybody online seen Succession?
No.
No. All right. Well, I get to give you the synopsis. All right, this gentleman is Logan Roy. He is a billionaire, right? One of the greatest global empires on the planet. He has 3 kids, and he's trying to decide which one of his kids will take over the business after he's gone. It leads to a lot of conniving, underhanded stuff, a lot of shady dealings. And through it all, he is fierce, a killer, strong, and the people who watch the show have very strong opinions of him. All right. So with that said, some people think that he's a great boss because he built this global empire. Others think that the chaos he left behind for his kids showed that he wasn't. All right. So that's our Hall of Fame exercise. But now what I like to do is we talked a lot about bosses, and I love how you brought in the part about leading from the middle. Because really that's a lot of what this is about. And the question I always have is, you know, do you have to be the boss to be the leader?
No.
All right, please, we gotta discuss it, because this is, somebody speak up and tell me, why not? Or do you have to be the boss? Somebody might disagree with me.
You do not need to be the boss to be the leader. The leader is someone who positively influences other people.
Okay, I like that, I like that. Agree or disagree?
I agree.
Okay, now you gotta tell me why.
Well, I would say, I don't know that I would consider that person the boss, but
Right.
definitely I think that you can guide and lead. You know, sort of a leader is, it's not, you know, the definition of leader and boss are one and the same.
They're
But
not,
I
yeah, they're not.
think I don't think they are. I think boss to me sometimes comes off as a connotation that it's almost like a parent where it's, you know, my way or the highway. The
Yeah.
word boss. I mean, I know we use that word, but to me, boss sometimes has a negative connotation.
It does.
Where leader to me does not.
And it's interesting you say that, because in the definition up here, a person who exercises control or authority over others is one who supervises others. And I added this last one because I thought it was funny. A major antagonist in a game that you must overcome in order for the player to progress. Does that sound like a positive person that we want to follow? No, but so many of us, go ahead.
I'm having a realization while like being here, with a boss, I noticed that they want to have kind of that authority over people and they want themselves to be at a certain level. But leaders care more about, you know, who their neighbor, and they watch out for the little man because they see everybody as valuable.
But you'd be surprised that in what you said, how many people will defer leadership to the boss, right? They will refer leadership to the person who's in charge. Go ahead.
Well, I was just saying, I think that that's true. Because typically the boss has signing authority or final say.
Okay.
But when the boss is not looking out for everybody or moving things along, someone else usually needs to help guide it and make it the boss's. I mean, in my experience, I think that then you almost have to bring it back and make it the boss's idea.
Okay.
You know, because, you know, when you have a boss that's not worried about everybody or worried about the organization and the inner workings, I think that, you know, I don't know, I think you have to leave.
Well, let's let her jump in. Come on.
Well, I was just gonna say, like, my boss, he is the definition, that person,
Yes.
is the definition of the boss. But he embodies everything that you have under definition of a leader. He is all that.
So that would be an
So
ideal.
that's-
Yeah.
And so he's both of those.
Now,
things.
if that's the
He is
goal.
the boss, and he is the person who supervises us. He is the person that's in control. But he is that. He, you know, he leads by example. He gives us room. He gives us flexibility to grow. He lets us, you know, go past those borders those boundaries, he encourages that, he's just all of that, but he's both.
Can I ask a question? Are there situations where he lets you guys take the lead?
Absolutely.
And how does that feel?
Very empowering. He lets us make decisions, and a lot of times he stands by the decisions, and a lot of times he will say, even when his direct reports, his leaders who lead others in our area come to him and say, hey, what do you think I should do about this? He'll turn that question back around and say, well, what do you think that you should do? And he lets them decide a lot of the time, well, the majority of the time, but he is the boss.
Yeah.
And he is the person who's gonna make some decisions at the end of the day.
So can I be a leader even if my boss has the final say?
I think you can. I am a leader, because, I set direction for some of the, like our council. I've set a lot of direction for that. I'm not the primary person who's making the decisions, but I do make the decision. And so in that sense, I am a leader.
Yeah, I love it. And I gotta share this, but part of what really shaped my ideas about this is my grandmother was a secretary in the Department of Forestry at the University of Syracuse. And whenever I would visit her, everybody in that department would talk about how she ran the whole department and how they deferred to her. And she always taught me, if you ever want to really get in with someone, find the people that they trust and lean on who aren't necessarily at the head of the group, and get to know them and build relationships with them. And that's the message that I'm trying to put in here, is the importance of all of us in leadership. Leadership is a team sport. So many of us want to just defer to the Tom Brady's of the world, right? So many of us want to defer to the CEO in the suit and the tie, but that's not what leadership is. Sometimes leadership is the person who takes the idea that needs to be done, and in that group where everybody's resistant says, I think this might work. And then everybody's doing it. The prime example of this is my son, Devin, my oldest. Natural born leader, natural. But you know why he hates leading? Because he doesn't want to be seen as being like me, right? He doesn't want to be up in the front of the crowd. He doesn't want to be talking. He doesn't want to give rah-rah speeches. But the thing I always try to tell him is, but when you ask your friends, hey, let's all go here for the weekend, don't they all come? Yes. When a friend needs help, you show up to help them, right? Yes. Well, if someone's in trouble, wouldn't you go out of the way to make sure they're all right? Yes. Isn't that what a leader is? And he was like, no. And I was like, yes, that is what leadership is. When people can come to you and know that you care about them and want what's best for them. You have to have empathy. All right, so with that said, I'm gonna go through these really quickly, but the things I think makes a really good leader, and then I'm gonna ask a question about this. Empathy and emotional intelligence, resilience and perseverance, vision and strategic thinking, and effective communication. The question I have for you is, isn't every one of these skills something all of us can develop and work on? Right? Isn't every one of these skills something that we can display in a moment? Right? When the time comes for effective communication and there's an idea that everybody isn't grasping and I can pull someone aside and help them understand what's going on. When, the organization is in flux and no one wants to figure out a way to go, I can come up with a vision and strategic thinking to help guide us forward and contribute to the process. But you'd be surprised how many people think that these are innate abilities that we are all born with. And unless you can be like Kevin Kidd and stand up here in front of a group and just talk to people, that you're not a leader. And that is not the case, because leadership looks like you. All right? So if there's nothing else that you get out of this, is I want you to understand that leadership has to do with qualities that come through in a given moment. is what does your organization need at the time that you are qualified to provide? It might be decisiveness when the boss is out, right? It might be, we need somebody we can trust with this money, because I don't know if we can trust the boss. But it could be the ability to empower others, right? Can people come to you and feel good? And all these other things that you can provide in the moment. But the thing for me is getting all of you to understand. The thing I had to understand when I was a young professional, and I became a CEO at 27 years old. In the room, there were 31 other CEOs. All but 2 were white males over the age of 60, who I had nothing in common with, other than my love for Boys and Girls Club. And the other 2 were 2 wonderful women named Mary, both of them named Mary, right? But both Marys were also over 60, right? So they helped me, they guided me, they taught me things, but there were things that they could do that I just couldn't do. There were aspects of leadership that I had to deal with that they didn't have to deal with. So I had to work on these characteristics and develop my own leadership style. So, some famous quotes about leadership. Now, I'm gonna get to butcher a name now, so everybody pay attention, because this is live Zoom. And I know I said that wrong, so please forgive me, I'm from Taylor County. All right, he was a Chinese philosopher in the 800th century, and he said a leader is best when people barely know he exists. When his work is done, his aim fulfilled, they say, we did it, right? For leaders, isn't it great and empowering when a leader brings the whole team into the success? One of my things is, I really want to empower my team. The thing that I'm good at is guiding people, and I really want them to have the thing that I didn't have. Remember I told you I was thrown in and didn't have any guidance or anything? I want to be that founding, right? I want them to be able to make mistakes because of initiative and know that I'm going to reward the initiative and not punish them because it didn't have the outcome that we anticipated, right? Because in the end, I really want the effort, right? I want your energy. I want your enthusiasm. And that's what I'm trying to get out of you. Another leadership quote from Brian Tracy, one of the fathers of the leadership movement. Become the type of leader that people would follow voluntarily, even if you had no title or position. And then my last quote for you guys is from God. I suppose leadership at one time meant muscle, but today it means getting along with people. All right. Now I got to pause on this one. How important is the ability to bring people together in leadership?
Oh, it's very important.
Anybody has any comments? Okay, I got you. I got you. That wine must be kicking in. All right. So what I'd like to talk about here is I'm going to go through these keys to leadership, and then I'm going to ask you some discussion questions, which I have for you. And I want to make sure I have time for the questions. So if I rush through this, please forgive me. All right. Leaders, they have influence. They embrace individual strengths. And if there's one of these you want to talk about, please jump in, but I'm trying to be gracious with my time. Leaders are vulnerable, right? They bring you in on the decisions and help you understand why the decisions are being made. We talked a little bit earlier about, can I be a leader even if the boss has the final say? If a boss is a good leader, he can explain to you why he made a decision contrary to what you want, and then encourage you to at least respect that decision based on his or her mindset and the thoughts that were behind it. Leaders learn from their mistakes. All right. Leaders are authentic. They're lifelong learners. And the one thing that if I can encourage you about something that makes you feel like a leader is I want you to understand that the best leaders always study themselves first. How does this make me feel, right? What would I feel like if I was in that situation? What would I need, right? How am I affected? One of the best things that happened to me is I'm one of those people that likes to get in a room and spark ideas out. Hey, let's do this, let's do this, let's do this. And my staff helped me understand, hey, we got like 15 other projects that you gave us like that. So can you slow down for just a little bit and let us finish this? So, all right. And then leaders build connections. All right. Leaders clarify the what and why, going back to that explaining the decisions. Leaders coach underperformers, right? And this one is so important to me. If you see somebody in your job who's struggling in their position, are you just gonna be like, I don't know if he's gonna last that long? Or are you gonna try to take him in and say, hey, let me show you something. Is everything all right? Are you okay? Can I help you with anything? Here's how I would do it. You know, let's walk through this. Leaders reward behaviors. They want to see more. Remember talking about the I reward the initiative and not the outcome. Leaders do their best work in between the meetings. That, now I want to ask y'all some questions. I had to write these down. All right. In leadership, after all we talked about, which one is more important? Influence or authority?
I'd like to say influence.
Okay, tell me why.
When you influence someone, they're more likely to want to emulate or do what you ask versus you being authoritative and saying, you know, you have to do it. Or in a sense, I guess I look at authoritative as somebody that's almost forcing you to do something. Versus when you're influenced, it's like, okay, you know, I'm losing my train of thought. But I want to say influence because I feel like people that influence me inspire me to do more, do better, in that sense, versus somebody that's over me that's making me feel like I'm being forced to do something. So
does everybody feel like influence is the most important? Everybody?
Yeah, it's more, definitely.
More important? Okay. What if I said I think authority is more important?
I would disagree.
Okay. Why would you disagree? And I'll tell you why I think it's more important.
Go ahead, tell me why.
Okay. Well, for me, you know, influence is great when you have people who all are there for a common goal and who want to do their mission. But what if you have a bunch of underperformers? What if you have a bunch of people who are just doing a job, right? And aren't inspired and this isn't a mission for them, right? And they need someone to kick them in the tail to do what they need to do, right? And influence isn't working. I'm trying to be like, oh, come on, everybody, let's rally together. But they're just not doing it. And everybody on a team, is everybody in an organization always inspired to be influenced? Now, let's move on.
It's not always about inspiration. Influence is not always about inspiration.
Okay, all right, go ahead. Well, and the reason why, and remember we talked earlier about that soccer team, that middle school soccer team. I had to be the authoritarian for a long time before I could get to the influencer, so I can get to the inspiration, right? Because I had a lot of young ladies who just were there because they just wanted something to do after school. But because of that, I had to inspire. We had to do burpees, we had to run, we had to do all this stuff. I had to lose my voice a couple of times. And then something happened in that third year where they were like, Coach Kidd, we got it. You don't have to yell anymore. We'll take it on, right? So my question to you is, well, how can I say this? Can you see the merits of leadership leaning on authority from time to time?
You have to be both.
Okay, go ahead.
No, I was, just think just generally, it would have to be both, and either one of them would come into play at different times during, the process or whatever. One may be more important, this quality may be more important at the, the out at the beginning, this may be more important at the end. you know, you may even use the authority, you may use the influence, but it just depends on where you are in the process. So
It-
where you go.
You know, go ahead.
I thought it might get to know an interesting territory when we talk about like social media.
Okay,
Things
go
like that, like influencers and stuff. So in the ways that we're talking about it, yeah, influencers are definitely like generally positive, but they're also influencers for bad behavior and bad things as well. So
Everyone's talking smack and everyone, you know, everyone's
yeah, a lot of like I
chattering.
feel like kid streamers, like people streaming to kids, like young boys and stuff like that, the Andrew Tates, the kind of hypermasculinity stuff. So I don't know, I guess it's kind of it's a gray area.
Gray area. I like that. I like that. Because the message, and I'm gonna wrap up with this, because this is module 1 of my 4-module series. And the next module talks about not being pigeonholed into one style of leadership and being able to adapt to what the moment calls for. The thing for me is understanding, all right, this moment calls for me to be the
Authoritarian.
thank you, boss. Right? Because I got someone who's underperforming. I've tried to coach them, you know, this and other. COVID required us to be like the nurturing boss, right? Where we need to help people get through a time where nobody really understood what was going on. And I'm not going to give it all the way to you because I hope you'll invite me back another time to talk about this. And with that, my call to action. If nothing else, I hope I've inspired you to understand the role that all of us play in leadership as a team sport. And regardless of your background, your ethnicity, and anything else, you can be a leader in your own style. You don't have to be Mr. Burns. You don't have to be Leslie Knope. You can draw from different examples and be your own person, right? But the whole point is you have a say in that and you get to develop it. And the only way you can do that is if you invest in your own personal development. And my hope is by you exploring what your leadership style is, that you'll be able to go and teach other people how to be leaders and teach people that leadership looks like you. My name is Kevin Kidd, and thank you very much. Thank you.
Any questions for Dr. Kidd? Anyone have any questions or comments or anything you'd like to?
One second, Court. I
Yes.
think this was a phenomenal leadership presentation, and I learned a lot from it. So, you know, I'm gonna be more authoritative than influential.
Okay.
What the moment calls for.
All right. Anyone else? Okay.
And
Well,
I'll stick around a little while if anybody wants to talk.
thank you, everybody, for being here. Take care. Bye.
Oh, great audience.